little time. We were only given 6 minutes per person. So me, I had to hurry up. Butit na lang, I wanted to, expound more on my statements about the conditions in the Philippines. But because of the limited time, it was good that I had my speech prepared. I could add ang matatagal noon yung Canada pati si Obama. But ang maraming offers, and Russia was very generous in their offer.
Sir, before I ask you to assess your Russia and China bilaterals, just the follow-up dun sa APEC, you were not able to attend the dinner, the gala dinner, and also the family, the picture taking of the leaders. So,
I was not able to attend the socials because I wanted the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. I wanted to promote his acting career. Sabi ko, ikaw na lang muna dyan at never mind about me. Really, alam kung bakit jet lag. Talagang, hindi man, but, lightheaded. Because exactly at that time, that's my sleeping time back home in the Philippines. I sleep at 3, 4, 5. Yun yung panahon dito. Talaga ang mata ko, hindi ko mapigilan minsan. And even I was listening to the others, nagsisara yung, it's not good to be somebody, yung mga greats ng convention, tapos ako nakapikit ang mata. Sabi ko, mag-uwi na lang muna ako. Hindi rin ako nakatulog. Pero talagang inantok ako. Jet lag, simply.
Sir, finally, assessment of your bilateral talks with President Putin and President Xi Jinping, especially with Mr. Putin, whom you met for the first time.
You know, we have become fast friends. Si President Putin pati si President Xi Jinping, mukhang parang magkilala na kami ng matagal. And even the way we pat each other's hand in a handshake. And, I didn't realize then when we were, before we were seated, I was talking with, I think, the Premier of South Vietnam. They were thanking me for the sailors that we sent home. Those fisher folks na nahuli. Usap kami. When I finally sat down, I found out that si President Putin was on my left side. So we shook hands. Then, pagkatapos, shook his hand again, and then finally said, I'll go ahead. Tapos nagsinya siya na, don't forget to visit Russia. So he has said it, he has extended the gracious invitation maybe about 4 times already. And maybe I will go. Maybe I shall. What's the right word? Shall or will? I shall go someday. But not on a wintry night. I can't stand cold. Mahirap talaga ako mag-adjust sa cold. Maybe I cannot do something productive or worthwhile there. I'm not just up to it. Cold. Nahirapan ako. Yes, any other?
Joseph Morong.
Have I answered your question, Linda? Are you satisfied? Yeah.
Joseph Morong of GMA.
Sir, magandang hapon po. So remember when you were in Indonesia
And then we ask you what your assessment of ASEAN was. Sabi nyo, hindi pa yun yung 18th birthday nyo. And APEC, it seems, ang sinasabi nyo nun, is going to be your world debut. In relation to your job as president, what's your realization participating in the APEC summit for the first time?
Well, in the so many things that was said there, it was really one of climate change. Ang may ano lang, in our little talks before and after, itong climate change, kasi I was just discussing it with somebody. Those were my misgivings in Manila. And I was criticized for just airing my misgivings. So you don't have the freedom anymore to express what your misgivings are. Ang una kasi, ang sinabi ko sa kanila, this thing is binding. That's given. But there is no sanction. Yun ang misgiving ko. At alam naman natin, if there is no sanction, and you are asking somebody to do something or not to do something, and there is no sanction or punishment or whatever, then it's nothing. Now, supposing one nation decides that he is overcharging everything, and that nation is a powerful nation, make your choice of the four. Tapos ayaw nilang maniwala. So what is your remedy? Yan ang problema niyan. Because when it is binding, at wala ka namang, di ka naman magbayad, hindi ka naman makulong. So, you read it, treaty again. Second is that there would be a commonality of funds running to billions, say 200 billion. Who's going to give it? Wala naman nakalagay doon. Eh hanggang ngayon, I don't know, but this is a third, I am supposed to say something against, pero kung hindi siya magbayad, alam naman niya kung sino. O sabi niya, ayaw ko magbayad yan. May gusto akong sabihin, hindi na siya nakabayad ng Diyos sa United Nations. I don't have to mention siya mismo hindi nagabayad sa Diyos niya sa United Nations. Is there a sanctions at all? Yan ang mahirap dyan. Ngayon, kung tayo ang mag-violate, so there is no punitive action, there is no sanction. What will happen to you? Kung sila na magsabi, we will cut your goddamn what? We will deny your what? You will not receive your pagpunta mo sa eskunan, wala kang allowance. What? So we just accept it like meek and humble lambs. Yan ang mahirap sa walang nakikinig. Ade sabi ko kasi si Duterte walang alam, anak ka ng binasag. Apat na taon ako naghirap dyan sa College of Law. Tapos marunong. Di, basahin ninyo ulit. You pay so many dollars? Wala. So, you are what? You put in a public place and humiliated. Will the audience be allowed to laugh? Is that the only thing that you can? Yun ang ano ko. Pero maraming sabi ko, permanent. Sabi ng cabinet, but so long as these are the things that yan sinabi ko nun sa cabinet meeting. I'm always thinking of ahead kung anong gawin nitong mga, because they're up to it. But we are not. Because I said, this life is never fair. Kaya ganon niya. That you have to realize in anything, personal relationships, filial relationships, wala talaga. Even in siblings, there's always the favorite and there is the not so favorite. Hindi mo malaman yan. You don't take notice of it, but as you grow old, ganon ng...
Sir.
Dito, ganon yan eh. So, yun ang ano ko noon. Commonality of funds, sinong gagong magbigay ng 200? Madali lang sabihin. Karami niyan at climate change. EU. Criticizing me. Can somebody tell me how many nations compose the EU? Sampo lang ang nagpirma dyan sa climate change na yan. Anak ka na. And they call it union. What binds them in a union kung ganun? Pero kung sila ang 10 only. So hindi naman tayo kasing gago talaga na basta na lang siguro sabihin ninyo, sabihin ng presidente, presidente walang alam. Yun ang sinabi, yun ang alam mo.
Sir, medyo curious lang, pasensya. Pero
Don't
did you have a...
You're entitled to
Baka, sir.
you're entitled to ask and state your own opinion. That is freedom of expression.
Sir, curious lang.
Kaya ako dapat makinig din sila kasi there's always a meet somewhere. Yes.
Sir, curious lang. Did you have an opportunity to interact with President Obama?
No, I was not looking around. Right after I entered the room, I was reading the proposed basic principles which you approved this afternoon. I was reading it. Wala akong kopya noon eh. But I stood up because the South Vietnamese premier went to me to thank me for the release of the yung fisher folks nila na who were apprehended within our waters. So I was busy sa pagpasok kasi ni President Putin, by glance, he went to me and sabi niya na, pare, huwag mo lang sabihin sa media ng Philippines kasi wala ka magkumpiyansa. Pero ang sinabi niya ganito, mga walang iya yan. Yung magkalaban natin yan, huwag mo silang pansinin. Huwag ka magtingin sa direksyon nila. Dito lang. And Xi Jinping ay talagang parang the way it's something which you feel kasi yung tawa yung maluwang ang tawa. Kasama niya sabi ng yung mga sa news niya hindi raw tumatawa yan. But he was smiling all along. Sabi huwag ka magkalimot punta ng Russia kaya may ano ako doon sa iyo. May nireserba ako para sa iyo. Totoo ka? Baril. Mahilig sa ano yan eh. I don't know, but they allow hunting there for itong mga moose. Pinakamalaki ata yan sa niya, di ba? It's the biggest, parang malaki pa ng, kasing laki yan ng karabaw eh. Mas malaki. Hunting ang passion ng taong yan. Ako hunting rin. Totoo. Sigurado dyan ha, walang mamiskop. Totoo yan ha, mga ulitin natin lahat. It was a productive and very informative because coming out from the delegates, adding their own words to the work of their technical men, kagaya dito, yung binabasa ko, that's why huwag naman, do not be offended guys, but that's why I do not read speeches. Kasi hindi mo mapasok yung passion mo kung anong the right. Pero yung mga ina-ina dyan, wala, hindi yan kasali. Huwag na lang yung pakinggan yun, ha? Do you have to... Yes, ha?
Henry Uri of DZRH.
Hi, sir.
Yes, sir.
As a result of your bilateral talks with other country leaders, in the next months or years, lots of investment will be coming in to our countries. The question is, how would you protect, how the government is going to protect our agricultural and mineral resources against industrialization?
Actually, what was being discussed there was not so much about business, but about food. Maybe business, but always food, vis-a-vis with the climate, food security and the climate change. How do we go about skirting this looming crisis here? I think within our generations, or for sure the next generation will have trouble with that. Now, innovations regarding the lessening of the carbon footprints is something which we cannot even agree doon sa kung paano talaga. But for sure, we are all agreed na mahal ito. That it would also be a part of the investment of the food security. Or as a matter of fact, it is the platform or vehicle for having a security sa food supply. And the mitigation, for example, yung resiliency ng crops, yan ang medyo pinagdebatihan doon. So everyone had this piece to say something. But ang sabi nila, which we agreed, kami, pati tayo dito, that it has to be something more profound than just securing it in a warehouse somewhere during typhoons. That's not the case. It is sustainability and, of course, yung mitigation. The mitigation could be man-made structures or it could be something science has to deal with in the coming years. But ang pagkaintindi ko doon, the most innovative things now going on around the world is really that has something to do with climate change. Yung akin lang, I was for it actually, yung climate change. Yung sinabi ko lang yung misgivings ko. Because hindi naman tayo bago sa ganung style nila. Ano ang pinag-usapan talaga? Food climate change. Somebody even mentioned the Philippines, but it had something to do with the impact on the weather. I was trying to make a second guess. Hindi ko narinig agad kung ano yun. But as I was talking, alam ko it had to do with the impact sa global warming. And it hits up in the Pacific and mixes with the cold and the hot. And we get that front page because tayo ang window sa Pacific. Because as the storm goes along the eastward, every time it hits a land mass, hina yan. Ang Philippines talaga, yung Yolanda was the worst. probably it will be the last in our sana. Huwag na ulit. But have you been to Tacloban lately? May I just ask you a side comment on this? Have you been there? Late? Naku, believe ako talaga. The rise of the phoenix. Talagang, hindi mo makalain. When I was there, I was day 2, nandoon na nga ako. I was with me, my doctors and nurses and medicine. Makita mo how fast and how mas double ang ganda ngayon. If it is na sa, hindi naman credited that that's a lousy conclusion, but the way the human beings overcome their agony and sorrow. Kaganda na ang Tacloban na, magaganda na ang building, mas marami pang dumating. Marunong ang Diyos na to. Mas maganda sa taas, mas maganda. Pagdating ko doon, it was really flattened. But what surprised me, without offending our, kulang talaga ang, and the first thing that they were asking was water. So I was surprised bakit walang Navy doon na may tanker man tayo. And for that matter, any tanker that's available. Nandiyan lang yung Cebu. But I hope that those things will be the last. Pakunti-kunti kaya natin, pero yung sa Yolanda. Ang what is really very sad is going to climate change and the impact on the lives of human beings. Yung makita mo lang yung memorial na cross na yun. Hindi mo naman alam kung sino yung nilibing dyan. It's almost parang unknown soldiers, ganun. Nilibing lang dyan, pero ganun ang makita mo. It's a very sentimental thing, really. Kakaiyak. Cross, wala namang sino yon. Basta sino yung inabot siguro, libing ka agad. Or those who were gathered in one place and which created an uproar. Kaya sana, ako we're willing to, yung mga ko sa climate change. There were a few of my questions. But I submitted it to her as a cabinet policy. So sabi ko, let us agree on this. All, tayo, lahat, hindi lang ako. Sabi na, sige, okay mo na. Ako, sige. Ngayon lang, binding that is to me not binding, being a lawyer, and the money, wala namang sinabi from the industrialized country, sino? At sigurado ba maglagayan? I think the most bagay, lahat naman. We should also thank the United States for the so many assistance that we have that they have given us all these years. But of late, aggressive ang China pati ang Russia. And again, we thank everybody who would be willing to help the Philippines. Kasi marami tayong pagkukulang. Technology and everything. Why? I cannot answer that. As your president, do not ask me that question because nasasaktan lang ako. Hindi ko talaga, why we have lagged behind. And, by the way, I'd like to announce it, mas mabuti ang alam nila. There was this, itong sa regulatory sa energy, so I was reading the reports sa Then I had in addition to that, I had the internal report. Hindi ko lang sabihin kanino. And the intelligence report. And at this early, before we will have Auckland, so we'll have dinner in Auckland. Oh, tama nga, dinner. Magdi-dinner tayo doon. Before we reach Auckland, kuti malaman nila, I am demanding that they all resign. Kasi nabasa ko yung internal, pati yung sa intelligence. Talagang binastos nila ang, I don't know, just like in the past. Sinabi ko na sa inyo, sa kaliit-liit kong ito, I'm just a small town province boy. Ayaw ko talaga yung corruption. They must resign. I have options, file a case against them all, or demand that no money will be appropriated. Nihiring pa yan ngayon ulong. Bigyan ko siya 0. Or if they want to spare the humiliation of sitting there without their money, they resign, and I will reorganize or rename silang lahat. They have to resign. I won't go. I don't know, but I leave it to the implementors. Basta itong lahat ng opisyal, lahat sila, they have to resign. Mamili sila, I will ask Congress, I demand from Congress to disband. Wala nang, and or file a case simultaneous sa kanila when I get back. I think yung source ko has the document na. So, wala nang problem. It's a matter of the lawyers now of government assessing. Na mabutit malaman na nila bago maglanding. Kaya magdasal nila na lang sila na wala na lahat.
Royce?
Lahat, pati may isa pa. Yung maunahan ko na lang kayo. Late masyado kayo magtanong. Okay. Marcos burial of Marcos, it's all legal. To me, again, I have only 2 answers. He was a president. He was a soldier. His name appears on the record. It was recognized. He had the Valor Medal for his deeds. Marami magsabi, hindi totoo yan. Yung kalaban yan, politiko kasi. Basta sa akin, there is maraming pros and cons. But there are 2 outstanding remarks. Another soldier and the president. That he was not a hero. That's your word against their word. Yun lang same, whatever yung hindi ko pa nabasa yung Supreme Court, but I would stick to what I have said all along. There is only 2 lang. And ang problema niyan, he fit on both counts. Soldier and or president ka.
Mr. President, some people are questioning the timing of the burial as it coincided with your foreign trip here in Peru. May we know if the family or if the Marcos family have informed you prior to your departure about the schedule?
No, in all honesty, I'm telling you, wala akong alam. Nagtanong lang sila when would be the appropriate time for me. Sabi ko lang, Bahala kayo. Wala ako. Wala. Nandito man si Defense Secretary. Wala rin siya sinabi sa akin. Hindi rin ako nagtatanong. At bakit ako magtanong? I allowed it already, so what's it to me? What would I get if I know in advance whether he will be there for the interment on that hour, on that day? Well, I stand by my decision. At isang newspaper that bakit daw ginako when my mother was the leading figure sa Yellow Friday sa Davao City. You know, I am a public employee. I decide on what is lawful and what is not. I am now called upon, or I was called upon to decide whether it would be lawful for Marcos to be buried in the libingan ng bayani or it would be an illegal act. My mother's cause or causes she fought in her life, kanya yun. But just because she is my mother, I cannot state to you that Marcos cannot be buried because according to my mother, he was a dictator. Because she had the same issues with the yellow groups all over the Philippines. At sabihin ko, yan, nanay ko nga, called him a dictator. So, hindi yan siya pwedeng ilibing doon. We have to separate me from my persona. Pero ako, personally, yes, he should be. Without being a lawyer, kasi nga, back to square one tayo. Sundalo to, pati wala man akong maibigay na rason bakit mo rin lilibing. And the second reason really that's always in my mind, 98% of the Ilocandia, people speaking Ilocano, may sentimento sila. Bakit ginanon si Marcos? Lumulutang lang nga because itong mga Ilocano naman, they are not really itong Ilocano, it's one of the conservative tribes sa atin. Sa one is Cagayan, hindi mo pwedeng magsalita ka ng pabastos-bastos. They get offended. And even they celebrate, it's always a subdued one. They don't go about the streets shouting and jumping. So there was really a deep wound somewhere in the country. But for those who cannot really forgive, yun ang mahirap. You just have to live with your grief. And that grief is hate. Yan ang problema dyan.
Sir, lastly, just your comment because Senators Pangilinan and Pimentel are claiming that the burial can still be reversed should you have a change of heart. And also people are questioning bakit daw nag-participate yung soldiers in the burial of a former dictator and also if there were government funds spent for it.
That's immaterial. When you bury a person, you incur expenses. Libingan ng mga bayani. So he's always entitled to even a single centavo that you have to spend there because you're burying a person who rightfully should be there because according to the law, he's a soldier. And the only reason why I would think that a soldier would be buried there is because he's fought for his country. And the president, maybe because he also worked for this government. May mga taong gano'n. Wala namang libre dito. That is the reason why we have this libingan there because these guys here, they're all meet in front of you, mga police. Ito nga una tinatawag natin mamatay. So if there's trouble in, in Cotabato, who were sent there? Even if they were not really the appropriate contingent to be there. Because yung SAF na yan is intended to meet the challenges of urban terrorism. Siyudad, yung street fighting, ganon. Kaya sila hanggang ano lang, not so walang heavy weapons. There's no need for it. Mga rifle lang kayo dyan. They are may artillery.
Last question from Rose Nabanario of Hatao.
Sir,
Mag-take
good
over ba
evening
tayo? Ayaw mo lang umuwi. Sige.
Sir, good evening po. Sir, ano po yung update sa drug war pong isinusulong ng inyong administrasyon, lalo na po sa kaso ni Kerwin Espinosa at ni Senator Laila de Lima po?
Actually, the Secretary of Justice is investigating the case. It is clear to us that he is building his theory, the theory of the case. Let him be muna. Ako mag-ano kay baka, he's under me. And I do not want to sound preposterous by sabihin ko na hindi akin yan. Balang araw, that decision of his will be really mine. In the same manner na itong kay Burial na everything that a cabinet member does is akin yan. Hindi ako pwede maghugas ng kamay na hindi akin, kay ano yan, kay Jun yan wala talaga ako gusto niyang magpa-picture doon sa mga the greats. Tapos I want to help his acting career. Sabi ko, ikaw na lang muna doon, Jun. No, really, I ask him to pinch it for it. So kung hindi ko kaya. Mukha ko bagsak na I didn't have the Rocky. Wala kang tanong. Panahon ni Ramos, ginakaya-kaya mo ako. Pagkatapos kay Ramos, tahimik ka na. Anong klase ka?
Good evening, Mr. President. Since may nangyari sa ERC, and then you want them out of the agency, may marami na rin kasi nagtatanong kailan din mag-start yung program mo, kasi yung program mo na pwedeng maging sumbungan ng bayan.
Is
A
it?
TV program.
Yeah, I want it.
It's already on air,
They
Mr. President.
work, leave the technical guys, ha? Kasi sa ano pa yan ang connectment sa smart. Basta na i-video mo yung complaint, yung mismong, they have to do something about it. Connect mo doon sa computer na, paglabas sa cellphone mo, maglabas doon sa But ganun ang gusto ko. Di sana meron yan noon, nasumbong na yan lahat. But ako, actually, marami na ang nagsasabi sa akin. Ang iba, puro intriga kasi yan, hindi mo ina-point yan. Hindi ako nakikinig ng ganon. Right at the start, wala akong ginawa. Ayan, may fixed term yan, pero hindi yung tao mo, ganon. Wala akong sabay, yung may fixed term, yung sa, sino isang babae dyan na, hindi ko kilala kasi mga cabinet member ko. Yeah, Richard. Sabi niya lang, sabi ko ito, pagsabi niya po, dyan, hindi mo, may fixed term. Pati yung, pero ito, marami na akong narinig dito. Just bide my time, ika nga.
Pero sir, ano yung mga narinig mo o nakita mo na kagad ng mga dapat talagang bigyan ng investigation agad?
Kaya nga, nandyan yan, nauna ang Meron na yung ano, yung mga questionable na, so if I have the appointments, maraming consultants, sobra-sobra. Mas marami pang consultant kasi presidente. Ako hanggang assistant secretary ka lang. Kung consultant ka, ang boy, walang sweldo yan. Lahat ng consultant dito, 1 peso a year ako. Yan, nababasa ko na. Sabi, dahan-dahan lang. Of course, ang pinakamahirap dyan, Rocky, ang contracts. Because you have to, yung sa itong, mahirap kasi itong 3019, is it the anti-graft law? 3019? Mahirap yung ano nila, to the prejudice of another. Napakahirap niyan. Mas mabuti pa babalik tayo doon sa revised penal code. Kaya yung some other time, I'll talk about Pangilinan and how this country became, bakit nawala yung sense of accountability ng mga anak natin. You go in and out of prison every day, and you cannot do anything. You can commit the most heinous crime. Rapin mo, patayin mo, nakawin mo pa, following day he goes out. That's how it was. So you produce a generation of people who never had any sense or even an inkling of what the word accountability means. To criticize. That was the law that produced a generation of criminals.
So you're mentioning
Ako naman magtanong sa inyo. Linda, marami akong naririnig sa iyo. Pwede kitang... Hindi, yung...
Masama ba, sir?
Hindi. Bakit? Ako lang pala.
Hindi. Sige po.
Hindi ka ma-embarrass kung tatanungin kita. Kasi kilala ko siya.
Hindi naman po. I will try my best not to be embarrassed.
Yung... Baka masaktan ka, ha?
Huwag na lang daw po, sir, kasi may camera. You can ask me privately.
Ikaw, Rocky,
executive session, sir.
mag-gets mo ang gusto kong tanungin?
So, hindi.
Ayaw mo rin.
Executive session, sir. Private.
Yan lagi ang mahirap. Itong mga, pagka sila ang magtanong, sir,
Hindi naman interesado sa amin ng public, sir.
Bakit? Hiwalay na ba kayo? Ano ka man, matagal na eh. Ito naman sabihin mo isa, kayong kayo na pala. Mayor, huwag naman mag-ganong biro. Sis.
Sino yan?
Kaya nga biro lang ako, nagbibiro lang. Nag-iimbento lang ako ng... Pero may alam mo itong PSG, magsabi ka, sinong gusto mo malaman, sir? Linda Humilya? Ayan, siya, matagal na yan. Maligaya na siya ngayon. Ganun lang ba yan? Si Rocky, ganon. Siya dumaan ito ng purgatorio. Pero dumating rin sa langit. Maligaya na rin siya ngayon. Kung wala na kitanungin, uwi na tayo. Magsabay-sabay kayo mag-uwi. It's a long haul. Via United Nations kayo? United States?
Yes, sir.
Port of Entry? Miami or LA? Dito. Yeah. Westward. Tagal yan?
Mas mabilis yung biyahe niyo, sir. I think 24 hours lang yata kayo. Less than 24 hours. Going back, mas patagal.
Bagay. Anong airline ninyo? Ang karamihan. Sus Mariusep. Magsimba muna kayo, ha? Oh. Bagay, maraming bakante mga sa news bureau nito. Totoo nakakaano. Ayaw ko mag-travel. Hindi ko kaya yung totoo. Ang last ko siguro because I need to, this is how a political life develops. Sometimes you hit it off okay with somebody. I had this rocos with, some of the guys. So, but ang nagpakita lang kasi rin sa akin ng goodwill. So, itong China pati, but if there is one thing to be learned here, it's like this. Do not make it a habit of just parang flick of the finger, you criticize everybody. Do not allow your whatever state, yung DILG mo, State Department mo, just to, alam mo bakit ganito yan?